Hi, 7th graders. We are on lesson 2-4, dividing positive and negative fractions. So first we need to talk about the multiplicative inverse, or the reciprocal of a fraction. And basically what you do is you flip the fraction around. So if we have the fraction 3/4, the reciprocal of our fraction would be 4/3. If we have negative 1/5, our reciprocal would be negative 5/1, or just negative 5. If we have 8, our reciprocal would be, because we can make 8 a fraction by putting a 1 under it, so our reciprocal would be 1/8. So any whole number, you would put a 1 under it. The reciprocal would be 1 over that number. Okay, multiplicative inverse, reciprocal are the same thing. We'll probably be using the word reciprocal more often. You've probably heard it more often, but it's important for you to know both terms, and I believe both of these are your vocab words that you should have your vocab sheet out and filling it in. The inverse property of multiplication tells us that the product of a number and its multiplicative inverse is 1. So if I look at 3/4 times 4/3, 3 times 4 equals 12. 4 times 3 equals 12. Well, any number over itself, 12 over 12, equals 1. If we look up here, 8 times 1 is 8. 1 times 8 is 8. 8 over 8 is 1. So when we're dividing by a fraction, what we do is we multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction only. So I have 3/4 divided by 1/2. So I keep my first fraction the same. I do not do anything to it. And when I'm dividing fractions, it's important to rewrite it out instead of trying to do it in your head, because you will definitely end up getting confused, especially as we go down the line and do harder fraction problems. So get in the habit of writing it out. So I change my division sign to a multiplication sign, and then I take my fraction and I flip it around, or I write the reciprocal of it. So 3/4 divided by 1/2 equals 3/4 times 2/1, and I have 6/4. I know that 4 goes into 6 one time with 2 left over, so I have 1 and 2/4, and then that equals 1 and 1/2. We always want to simplify it down to this in simplest terms. Negative 1/4 divided by negative 7/8, or divided by positive 7/8, sorry. So I keep my first fraction exactly the same. And if it helps you to put your negative sign up with your numerator, that's totally fine. Change my division to a multiplication. Flip my second fraction around. So negative 1 times 8 is 8. 7 times 4 is 28. Now I know that it can be simplified more. 8 can be divided by 4, 28 can be divided by 4. So then I have 2/7, okay? Because I did 8 divided by 4, 28 divided by, by 4. So pause me for a second and try both of these problems really quickly. So again, get in the habit of rewriting it as their multiplication problem. So 1/4 times 3/2. So we have 1 times 3 equals 3. 4 times 2 equals 8. 3/8 cannot be simplified any further, so that is your answer. So you could either leave it on your page and circle it, or I'm just going to write it up here so we can see that that's the answer. Now I have 4/9 divided by 3/5. So I keep the same fraction. this first fraction, keep it the same, change my division to multiplication, flip my second fraction around, only my second. 4 times 5 is 20. 9 times 3 is 27. That cannot be simplified anymore, so that is our final answer. 27. So if we have mixed numbers, as you remember from multiplying fractions, the first thing that we need to do is convert it to improper fractions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert both of my mixed numbers to improper fractions. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11 fourths, because I keep my denominator. For now, I'm going to keep my division sign. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6 fifths. Okay, so now that I have a division, I have them in improper fractions, but it's division. Now I'm going to rewrite it again. Remember, it's important to get in the habit of writing out all of your work. 11 fourths times, I flip my second fraction around, times 5 sixths. And then we have 11 times 5 is 55. 4 times 6 is 24. I know that 24 goes into 55 2 times. 2 times 24 is 48, which means that I have 7 left over, and then I keep my denominator. So 2 and 7 24ths is my answer for that. So convert to improper, flip second fraction, then multiply, and then make sure you always simplify. Okay, another one. Negative 1 3/4 divided by 12. If you feel like you got it, pause me and try to do it on your own. If you're still confused, then follow along and do it with me. So 4 times negative 1 is negative 4 plus 3. So negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. No, we're going to go the other way. Negative 7 fourths. So we keep it, we do it like it's positive, but we keep our negatives. So 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So negative 7 fourths divided by 12. And I'm going to make my whole number 12 over 1. Okay, so now I'm going to rewrite it as multiplication. So I have negative 7 fourths times 1 over 12. So we have negative 7, and then 12 times 4 is 48. So negative 7 48ths is our final answer. It cannot be simplified anymore. And that makes sense to us because we are taking a negative 1 and something and dividing it into 12 pieces. And so it's going to be a pretty small number. Okay, here's a couple more for you to try. 6 divided by 2/3. So remember 6, we have to make it over a 1 because we always want to be able to show that it's a fraction. So I'm going to rewrite this as multiplication. 6 over 1. This is one of the biggest mistakes that we do is forget to put it over 1. And then we forget about that and our division and multiplication is totally off. So then we flip all this around, change my multiplication, flip the second one around. So we have 18 divided by 2, and you get 9, because 18 divided by 2 is exactly 9. 5/7 divided by 1 3/5. My first step is to change this to an improper fraction, so I have 5/7, divided by 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3, so 8/5. Okay, rewrite it as multiplication. So by now you should be able to tell me or say out loud what I'm going to change it to. But I have 5/7 times 5/8. And I end up with 25/56s, or 56. 25/56. And it cannot be simplified anymore. And that is, I lost my last slide. And that is it. I don't have a slide reminding you, but you need to go on to Naiku and do lesson 2-4, fill in your vocab sheet, and I will see you tomorrow.